It's wonderful to be here, Nancy, at a bookstore. God knows, these are our temples these days, places of refuge, and great to be here with you too, Ai Weiwei. A lot to talk about. You know, I thought we'd begin. You combine a strange combination of a life experience of living almost 2 decades in a form of Chinese prison camp with your father, and you are an artist. You are a political artist, although not always a political artist. But how do you imagine your sort of those two streams as forming the whole of your artistic life, politics and art?
It's nice to be here. We know each other almost 40 years, and still early Berkeley time, Berkeley days. And it's amazing we're both still alive, so.
And kicking.
And it's strange, you know, I'm still struggling. Whenever they talk about me, they talk about politics. It seems I can never really, you know, escape from that. But it makes sense because I was born in a family. My father was a poet, studied in Paris, and as an artist, he never wanted to become a so-called political person, but he was immediately being put in jail when he come back from Paris.
I should say Weiwei's father, Ai Qing, was perhaps the 20th century's most well-known Chinese poet. He wasn't just a poet.
Well, that last sentence is, so I wasn't just an artist. I'm a political artist, often being referred to. Even I don't care that much about that title, but I have a friend, you know, Woody Sieg, the Swiss ambassador to China. Right. He used to warn me. He said, "Weiwei, careful. Now they call you political artist." What I'm careful about, you know, because when I growing up, Chairman Mao always educated us to be political, to have a political thinking, and to make a political awareness as top, you know, 政治挂帅. That means will be the top category for everybody's life. So I've been educated that way. I look since with some kind of filter. That filter is to, you can call it a political. So that brings me into many different way of look at things, or to give me different angles, or to put me in different kind of position. I guess, you know, it's not I choose to become like that. I was educated like that.
I mean, I think one of the things we wonder about now is any country, whether it's Russia or China, that goes through a really profound revolution. It's very hard to get that out of the system of the country. And I wonder, for you as a person, you just said you, of course, were educated during Mao Zedong's time. What part of that education do you think still survives in you? Because you were formed during that period.
In early education, especially in China, under Chairman Mao's idea, so all our thinking, our taste, our choice, our reference come from class struggle. You know, this is very often words being used. Your your judgment are really come from who you are, which that means very often belong to which class. Which old society is like that. It's not so many classes. So I think in that sense still we can evaluate ideas with some kind of graphic simplicity. And I think that sometimes works.
Well, of course, some classes had rights and some did not in China. So rights weren't universal. They belonged to a class. If you're the bourgeoisie or a landlord, you don't have rights. But you know, it obviously affected what you did as an artist. But I think, I wonder how it affected you as a person growing up to have been through the Cultural Revolution, to have lived for 20 years in reform through labor camps with your father, and then come back into China as it was opening up. Do you think the residue of that remains in you in some ways that you'd like to escape?
Well, when I left China in 1981, I was very simply made up my mind I will never go back to that land. So thanks US and New York, my experience in New York, it was pretty tough. I never can imagine come from a communist society to really jump into the, the capitalism society. So all those values and still very hard for me to adjust myself. So I don't think I can be, I was already 24 years old. I am quite a stubborn person, even I was very idealistic, but I don't think I can really adjust myself into the new set of the value. So I was just hanging around for about 12 years. Then I break my promise. I went back to China because my father was ill, and I never went back for 12 years. But I don't have any fantasy about China. I know China is developing. It's only the middle way after Tiananmen. They're still, developing. But I have no illusion. China. It's when you come back from New York, you're pretty relaxed. You see, it will take China a long time to catch up. And of course, if you see the events happens in past week or this week, then you see China really catch up very fast. So, yeah, you get a very different society, a state capitalism, which is very efficient, have a very long strategy plan, and the same. The situation today quite benefits China's position.
You all should know that Weiwei has also written another really wonderful book, 1,000 Years of Joys and Sorrow, about his life. And in it, there's one very touching scene where you finally get back to Beijing with your father, and you're walking through Tiananmen Square, and your father starts weeping. And I wonder, as your father came to the end of his life, what was he thinking about his life?
Well, when I went back, he's already, I would not say brain dead, but still his mental activities are not so much we can communicate. I want to see him. I remember one sentence he said, here's your home. You you can be relaxed, you do whatever you think you want to do. That seems very normal, but I can imagine he pictured me, see my home in China is a little bit like staying in the hotel. It's, it's not, I don't feel that's my home. I don't feel I belong to that family, or, I'm more like a guest at home. But we don't have much communication. I read the title of 1,000 Years of Joy and Sorrow is come from one of his last poetry. He talked about one city disappeared in Xinjiang desert. It's completely like a Bombay. It's disappeared. So he write a poetry to say he imagined the city was very prosperous and a lot of people, and it's a great city, but then completely disappeared. So he write one of the last sentences to enjoy your life, because after 1,000 years of joy and sorrow, nobody even can remember whatever happened. So I don't like that poetry, because I think that is. But now more and more I accept the situation to say, there's a wisdom in there. So.
Do you miss China?
I don't. I wish I can say I miss China, but I don't miss anywhere, because I never feel I belongs to there, and so in that sense I never have a sense of home or a location I would feel I belongs to. But of course, speak English is not my language. That's why I don't like conversation like this, because it's so strange. I try to use a few elements to structure a building, which is impossible, because the language is not my language.
So when you started you went to film school, and then you kind of switched over slowly into art. And when you started to do art, when did you begin to realize that you wanted to express something more than just purely artistic things, that you were sort of bound to the social, political scheme of the world outside of you?
If I have to be honest, till today, I still never think I have that kind of pure artist drive. I never, maybe for a moment when I was very innocent, could be some moment, but it's just for a second. And I never really belonged to a studio. I never really belonged to a canvas, and I spent in my lifetime 5% of energy to be an artist. I think it's good proportion, because that already means I wasted a lot of time. And which is honest. I spend more time to make an argument. I spend more time to be online, to have other activities, make films or enjoy conversation. But I would say I could never understand the artists just staying in the studio and trying to be so-called a creative. And sorry,
Well, that's a bit. It strikes me as somewhat strange, because in effect, the world in which you grew up, of the Chinese Communist Party, art was not supposed to be art for art's sake. It was always supposed to have a purpose, and in a certain sense, you just have a different purpose, but you have a purpose. I mean, do you feel your art is a kind of a way to say something else?
No, not. I don't think my art have a purpose, or I don't even think my life have a purpose. And I think I trying to fit in the situation, to use, if I'm hungry, I can use chopsticks or forks or knife, or if I don't have it, I use my hands. So what is the purpose? It's just I'm hungry. So when you're born, you have a sensitivity, you have some kind of knowledge or experience, and you're trying to use those resources to come up with something. I never prepared to have a conversation with you. I mean, if I prepare, I will be nervous. So, and I never really think. I make works, and it being accepted, and I've been probably have most museum shows, but I never really trying to make a work for any museum. And in that way, I'm a little bit arrogant. I think, so I think it's you have to be very naive and arrogant at the same time. So then it helps you.
Didn't you just get back from the Ukraine and Kyiv? And don't you have a project in a subway there?
Yes.
Tell us about that.
I was set up by called a Ribbon Foundation, which is a non-profit foundation. Amy is your friend. So they invited me to Ukraine to have a show. I was hesitated. I said, so many stars go to Ukraine, and I don't want to be seen as some kind of opportunist or something, especially when a nation is suffering, so, and it's very complicated politics there. But but I'm a person easily to be convinced. So I said, why not? I can do a show there. So once I get there, I become involved. It's almost like when I'm doing a project, even a short project, it always like a love affair. You completely emotionally involved. Then I feel I can do more.
What was your project?
Well, it's hard to describe a project, but it's going to, because the project, if I can describe it, I will not do it. I'll become writer to write about it. So as an artist, even I'm not a great artist, but I still protect the integrity of making sense, to use that to reflect the emotions and communicating at that level. So if you can completely use words to describe it, I think that's a trap. So you don't try to trap me.
I know you're a hard man to trap, right? Let me ask you, since you were in the Ukraine, and we all just saw Xi Jinping up on Tiananmen Gate with Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un, who's selling howitzer shells and sending troops to the Ukraine. What did you think? What was your feeling when you saw the leader of your former country sitting up there with Putin and Kim?
Well, it's not my former country. I'm a Chinese passport holder. I'm still a Chinese citizen. And very few people in my condition, with my father's experience, come to United States in 1980s, and spend now about 20 more years in the West, still holding a Chinese passport. Maybe I'm the only one.
Your passport has not been expired or canceled.
Oh, well, being expired, canceled, and confiscated many times. I was in detention, and but still they gave me back. But what can they do if they don't give me back? I was born in China, so. And to answer your question, it's people always see the phenomenon, okay, China, Russian, or North Korea, or even Iran, or India, all these people gathering together. But what is maybe another 20 nations, is they have same kind of goal to think we are in a different time. We are not going to follow the American century. That's very clear. They try to establish an alternative way, but that's very clear. But how, and we have to wait and see. Right? History not really develops as what we wish. Clearly, even in the United States, I think many people will feel pretty strange at this moment. So if you feel strange at this moment, what do you expect about the other part of the world?
Well, I think America is now experiencing something we thought we might be immune to, but now we're discovering that we're not so different than Germany, Italy, Russia, China, that we have our own weaknesses and our own overreach and whatnot.
It's nice you are aware of that. History is like water, it flows, right? I mean, it's not clearly U.S. or Russia, When Russia and China was enemy in the 60s, when I grew up,
Right.
all we learned is Russian we call it raise up your hands. We will not kill you if in Russians. I still can speak Russians because Russia is a very big enemy as a neighbor. Now they bond together.
I thought it was very interesting when Xi Jinping stood on Tiananmen Gate the other day. He said something that the Americans always say. He said, China is on the right side of history. This is always something that we thought America was on the right side of history. Which way do you think history's going? could feel comfortable there. Do you think that's even conceivable, that China in the future could have such a shift?
No, I'm not that naive, you know. I think I represent certain values, of course, which is endangers society. You know, I kind of agree with them, you know, and because that society is not ready to. But I have no other choice. You know, I have to speak out my mind and express my feelings. So, of course, we would have conflicts, and you know.
And do you think the feelings that you do have towards art and freedom of expression, openness, etc., came from your parents largely, or where do you think you acquired them? Where did those values for you come from, since you didn't exactly grow up in them in a society that embraced them? But did your father and mother influence you in a profound way?
When I grew up, I tried to avoid my influence from my father because he was kind of public enemy, and he has to be in labor camp, forbidden to write, and the worst moment he has to clean the public toilets for years. So I don't have this kind of intellectual influence from him, but still I remember on his bookshelves there's poetry books, there's illustrations in those beautiful books, and his collection of the Western art. He have a very rich collection, and later I helped him to burn them page by page, because those books carries information really brings him into the deep trouble. So I tiered the most profound books, put in the flames, and I guess growing up in that kind of society, for someone do not have a, I don't have a clear political view or artistic view, but I believe my father is a very honest person, and he never did anything wrong except writing down his poetry. So, but until then, I don't even have time to think about it. Then come to New York, and it was pretty, I would say it's very special experience. I living in Lower East Side, very close by to here, and I meet Allen Ginsberg, meet other people, and so I don't know what to do. I never want to get a university degree. I don't know why. I always say I'm allergic to your campus. And I had a show with Ethan. That time, strangely he picked up the wrong person, but still had a show. Nobody come to our show, and we didn't sell a piece, and it's just like that. But until I go back to China, I went back to China. I started to do some underground books, trying to promote the local artist. As I would say, you don't need a gallery if you can write down what you're thinking, and I printed a book. We can circulate the book. This kind of alternative surviving skills I learned maybe from East Village. And so we had a good time for a moment. But not till 2005, the state invited me to become a blogger in their state-owned internet platform, Xinlangs. Sino or something. That's very big state companies. Weiwei, you're so well known, because I was doing architecture and was preparing for national stadium with the Swiss architects. So they said you should open a blog because you have so many opinions. You're very influential with young people. So I said, I never know how to type. I never touch a computer. I said, no, it's easy. You just learn it. So once I get on it, that is really a moment of awaken, because I start to talk to unknown people. I think why one day I write down a sentence, next morning I will say 50,000 people or 200,000 people already
Did you find that
reposted.
exciting?
It's no, the words is beyond exciting. It's like it's miracle, what happens, because when you're growing up in society, no chance to express any private feelings. Now you can talk to anybody. I was trying to imagine someone in the very remote mountain area, turn on the computer and immediately see what I'm writing. So, yeah, that's like a discovery of the electricity or something. It's very big for me. So from that time on, I become a different person. So.
One question I'm very curious about Weiwei is, I've just read this book about, I mentioned to you about Xi Jinping's father. Now, his father was declared a historical counter-revolutionary just when he was a teenager. And I often wonder what the effect of that must have been on him as a young man growing up. And I want to ask you, to have a father who is considered a rightist or a counter-revolutionary or whatever, and you're a young boy or a young woman growing up with a father or a mother with that name, that kind of blackened title, what was the impact of that on you? How do you respect a father who is a counter-revolutionary?
Well, I think my father is a revolutionary. I think they just, whoever called him counter-revolutionary is, they have a wrong definition about revolution. So I never feel sorry. My father is a revolutionary, and many of them are revolutionaries. They sacrifice their life for higher ideology, and it's amazing. But being called counter-revolutionary is only the people who don't understand what is revolutionary.
So for you, it wasn't a kind of a humiliation, or you don't feel it was difficult to sort of relate to your father because of his bad status?
I never can sense he did anything wrong, so, and I would never understand why people insult him or, and without knowing what he's doing, so it's.
So as you look forward, I know you're very modest about your ability to have an impact, and yet you still do things. What do you think is worth doing in your life as an artist, as a writer, the various things you do going forward in this world in which we now all find ourselves in, where it's not just China and Russia, but the United States is sort of having a crisis too. As an artist, what do you think is worth you spending your time on?
It's very hard to answer. I think my life I have no purpose. First, I have to be clearly to say that is not I trying to give up responsibility but rather to liberate myself, to give me a possibility to adjust myself with the situation. So, yeah, I don't know.
I mean, but for somebody who thinks you don't have that much purpose, you do a lot.
I do a lot because I'm still alive. You know, if I give up on my life, the only reasons should we still be alive, you know, keep this mystery, you know, why we was born. We don't know the purpose why we were born, you know, but we know clear this end, you know, this period of time given to you. So if you can make something, like Warhol said, you know, what is art? Art is good idea. People don't need it, but you still think it's a gift to them. So that is, you know, I think Warhol put it beautifully. You have to do something if you think that can benefit others or benefit yourself. Mostly what I'm doing is selfish, you know. I just want to learn, want to find out, like I go to Ukraine because I want to know what really is going on there, you know, how people, a nation would sacrifice the whole generation to defend on what, you know, what they're defending, why they have to defend it. So, you know, I have to put myself in the same condition to realize how difficult life can be. You know, it's easy, you just listen to news report or look at some kind of documentary film, but it's not so easy when you go to the front, when you can be really hit by the drones, you know, you don't even know who drops the bomb, you know, so crazy today.
So what do you think the impact on you and what you're going to do in the future was of going to the Ukraine and watching these people who are being attacked every day for no particular reason? Do you think you left with any great impact on you?
Yeah, everything would have a great impact on me, but when you have a life and then death, when you have emotions in relate to the people there, that impact very often is bigger, you know, stronger. So very often we say, maybe you should not say so many things because that would affect you. And but I have a curiosity. That's why I'm involved. You know, I'm just involved.
So let me ask you a final question, and then we'll throw it open to you all. I'm wondering, you've seen a lot of things during your life, some of them very painful, difficult.
Nothing so painful.
Well, compared to many...
It's always joy, so...
Yes, well, this is, I was going to ask you about that. We don't want to forget the joy, but how do you find yourself sort of sustaining yourself in this world of ours, which is a bit of a mess?
Well, there's always spring come, you know, it's good weather today, and the wind is a little bit strong, you know, and but so many things you can enjoy, even you just look at one insect or one grass. It's rich enough for you to have a good conscious about life itself. So.
Well, Weiwei, I have to say, I do admire your ability within your own life to find some hopefulness and some good reasons to carry on, and we look forward to watching you as you do that. So let's open it up to you all.
It's almost 12 years for me too to move from China to US. And for our generation of Chinese not in China, do you have any advice?
Go back to China.
Wait a second, Weiwei. Do you really mean that?
You know, China is just one location, right? The sphere is around. You can go to India or China or wherever as you wish, you know, but why always stay in the United States? I don't understand, you know, unless you have some kind of very special meaning or reason, you know. For me, I don't have that reason, so.
You said at the beginning China's caught up and catching up very fast, faster than you expected. But in some ways, is China not catching up, but actually getting further from readiness to embrace its own artists, the spirit of honesty that you've represented in your work?
Weiwei, I should say that this guy is a great student of the Chinese economy, although his question is not an economic one. Put your question in half a sentence, Dan.
Oh, well, you said China's catching up, but in some ways, is it actually getting further away from being truly modern in the sense that it can celebrate the honesty of art?
Is it going backward as it goes forward?
Well, now we talk about many things, you know, we have a theory of a quantum, or we have, you know, in the physics you discover the physical law or rule, even always with suppression. So same as the politics and the economy. And you know, if you look at historically, whatever the kind of vocabulary we are using, we don't have it in Tang Dynasty, we don't have it in Han Dynasty, or you know, that's, so I think we always have to have a historical perspective. It's not just back and forth, it's really, it's, because if you measure it with some kind of competition, which is like a doctor trying to examine how the body functions. But still, without doctor, life still goes on, and you know, happiness is still there. So there's not just one way of measuring things, and that way of measuring are not also necessarily right.
So you're saying that life is just ambiguity. It goes forward and backward, and it's very hard to kind of make any assessment about where we are.
Yeah, I'm a little bit agree with you, because why we are here and why, you know, I have many people, friends, they're dying suddenly, and there's no clear reason. And of course, we're trying to make a reason, you know, but our reasoning always very shallow, and it's never really, you know, it's really, our mind really, and doesn't really cope with the nature, or the law of the nature, so.
Thank you, gentlemen, for this most outstanding conversation. I want to say thank you to Nancy and Jean for this incredible evening. Thank you, Nancy. I want to say congratulations to Larry Warsh and NMR for this publication. Also, Fiona worked on it. Amazing people in this room. Ethan Cohen. So many beautiful people in this room right now. Thank you, Ai Weiwei, Ai Sifu. 非常感谢你. Orville, I'd like to direct my question at you. You have such an authority with China, your many years of devotion to the topic, so much to say. It's an honor to hear you speak. I'd like to, if I could ask you, what does your heart mind tell you? What would you say about China right now? Thank you.
I tend to kind of agree with Weiwei. It's very hard to make any definitive statements. I would have to say right now, I'm quite discouraged because not only does China seem to be heading in some very untoward directions, but so does the United States. And so we don't have any kind of steady state element. Everything is upside down. And in this sense, I don't know, Weiwei, what you think. It reminds me, Trump in many ways does remind me of Mao Zedong, in that Mao Zedong believed he wanted to just overturn things, make great disorder under heaven. And I think Trump has that same element, that he derives a lot of power from making disorder. And in this sense, there's a certain similarity. I mean, not complete, to be sure, but that means that there aren't any islands that we can retreat to, hoping that we'll find some stability and some logic and some enlightenment thinking. So I'm a little pessimistic. I don't know about you. Are you pessimistic, or are you just sort of in your Buddhist state where you're going to lead your life and best you can and find joys where you can and sorrows where you can't help it?
I think I'm not even entitled to have that kind of, how to say, judgment. I'm very grateful, still alive, still, functioning, and that's all. I can accept any kind of condition. A condition can be much worse, or so-called worse, but it's human society. You have a president, not just elected, but twice elected. So when you're crying, I don't know what you're crying about. You're a democratic society.
Well, I could tell you a few things to cry about, but...
well, you can, whenever you're crying, someone celebrate, so don't cry, And I have to say, I thank Larry. He has no patience to sit in this kind of conversation. But he when he become older, his little bit behavior right, because he just totally have no any kind of patience for this kind of, he would call it bullshit. And but without Larry, and Larry is my brother, but he's my he's a Jewish guy, and I'm a Chinese Jew, so Chinese think I'm a Jew. Said, how come you can make business? I said, I don't have to make business. Business makes me. So. And Larry, without him, he prints so many books, but he never read it, But because he never read it, he loves books. He thinks that is, give him a legacy, because his name are printed with a lot of so-called giants, but those people are not really giants. Most of them are still also bullshit all the time. So I love you, Larry. Keep going. And maybe I can be several of this kind of talks. And I love.
Maybe we should ask Larry what the meaning of life is here, since you've just deputized him as the oracle.
I love Larry. Larry only reads the first page, so.
Larry, do you want to speak?
What's the question again?
The meaning of life. I mean, what's worth doing?
That's already 10 seconds past. Your life, he counts his life is 10 seconds shorter. Now it's 20 seconds shorter.
I think life is about vision and achieving goals in life. And
he's trying to collect the words. He listens. It's never his own words, but tell us truth.
I think life is about living in the moment and doing things, and not waiting for tomorrow.
Wow.